Today, we will continue to learn the 7th factor for generating Bodhicitta. Generating Bodhicitta by respecting our spiritual nature. Why should we respect our own spiritual being? Spiritual being refers to our spiritual nature, also called Buddha nature or Tathagatagarbha. It is the true nature inherent in all sentient beings. Unlike inanimate earth or stone, it is luminous awareness, our primordial nature and the basis of Buddhahood. Hence, we must respect and cherish it. Master Dzyan explained, respect means to revere and honour. Worldly people, unaware that the nature of their mind is the Buddha, belittle themselves and pursue external things. Master Xing'an stated the principle of respect to urge us to focus our minds, stop chasing here and there, and refrain from deluded thoughts. When studying the Buddha's teachings, we must turn the light of awareness inward to dispel ignorance. When performing good deeds, if the mind constantly chases outward without reflecting inwardly, we may fail to recognize our true motives. Though we engage in virtuous activities, what is our underlying intention? Sometimes we are merely deluding ourselves. Repenting the obscuration of our true nature. Our present mind is fundamentally no different from Buddha Shakyamuni's. Why has the Buddha attained perfect enlightenment countless kalpas ago, while we remain ignorant and confused as ordinary beings? The Buddha has immeasurable supernatural powers, wisdom, and virtues, while we are burdened with immeasurable karma, afflictions, and samsaric fetters. Though the nature of the mind is the same, the gap between ignorance and enlightenment is vast, like a deep chasm. Reflecting on this, how can we not feel a sense of shame? We should reflect in this way. The nature of our present mind is fundamentally no different from the Buddha's. Our true mind is, in essence, no different from the Buddha's. Why did the Buddha attain perfect enlightenment long ago, while we are still ignorant beings? The Buddha possesses immeasurable spiritual powers, wisdom, and virtues, while we have only countless karma, afflictions, and samsaric bondage. Though the nature of the mind is the same, the difference between enlightenment and ignorance is as vast as heaven and earth. Reflecting on this, how can we not feel ashamed? This nature does not dwell in the past, the future, or outside. That is why it is called the present mind. It neither diminishes in ordinary beings nor increases in enlightened beings. Therefore, in essence, we are no different from the Buddha. On the 8th day of the 12th lunar month, the Buddha suddenly awakened while gazing at the stars, saying, "How wondrous!" All sentient beings inherently possess the wisdom and virtues of the Tathagata. However, due to delusion and attachment, they fail to recognize it. After eradicating delusion, the teacherless wisdom, omniscient wisdom, and primordial wisdom will naturally arise. Therefore, sentient beings' nature of mind is essentially the same as the Buddha's. In terms of manifestation, ordinary beings have 3 types of defilements: karma, afflictions, and rebirth. In terms of result, they are trapped in cyclic existence across countless lifetimes. This is known as fetters. In terms of cause, they carry the causes of birth and death, namely karma and afflictions. These 3 are referred to as karmic obstacles, afflictive obstacles, and retributive obstacles. Though the nature of the mind in sentient beings is the same as that of the Buddha, in terms of manifestation, they have lost their true nature. Due to ignorance, they manifest only the defiled appearances of delusion, karma, and suffering, undergoing endless cycles of rebirth in the 5 realms. Where do sentient beings come from? The Lankavatara Sutra states, ignorance is the father, desire is the mother. Thus, sentient beings are born. What is ignorance? What is desire? Aren't sentient beings illusory? What arises from ignorance and desire is illusory, not real. Therefore, sentient beings are illusory, born from ignorance and desire. From this perspective, we can realize non-self. Since there is no self, all sentient beings are false appearances. What arises from ignorance and desire is like a film, a dream, an illusion, a bubble, or a shadow, arising and ceasing illusorily. There are no truly existent sentient beings. Therefore, even when practicing virtue, we should not become attached. Sentient beings don't exist inherently. They arise and cease in an illusory manner, like dreams. When you are in a dream, you regard it as real. Thus, whether you do good or bad things, you are deluded. It is like a priceless gem buried in mud. One regards it as ordinary rubble and does not treasure it. It is like mistaking a priceless jewel buried in mud for broken tiles and rubble, giving it neither care nor respect. The priceless gem symbolizes our true nature. The mud reflects afflictions. The rubble refers to the 8 consciousnesses. Due to ignorance, the 8 consciousnesses arise. We fail to respect our spiritual nature. Instead, we follow deluded conditions, giving rise to desire, anger, and ignorance, and committing killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, thus appearing as ordinary beings trapped in birth, aging, sickness, and death. Sinking like this, we have failed our spiritual nature. No one escapes birth, aging, sickness, and death. Whether in heaven or hell, we undergo this endless cycle of rebirth, life after life. Generating Bodhicitta by respecting our spiritual nature. Therefore, we should use immeasurable wholesome teachings to counteract afflictions. Through proper practice, our inherent qualities will naturally manifest. Since we know there is a priceless jewel in our minds, we ought to cherish and awaken it. How do we awaken it? By applying countless wholesome teachings to counteract afflictions. Through proper practice, our inherent qualities will naturally emerge. Master Chi Wu's teachings says, sentient beings and Buddhas are essentially the same. What they equally share is the present luminous awareness, free from deluded thoughts. The Buddhas, through conditions of awakening and purification, awakened again and again, purified further and further, ultimately reaching perfect awakening and purity. As a result, their awareness pervades boundlessly, vast and all-encompassing. Sentient beings, through conditions of delusion and defilement, deluded themselves deeper and deeper, defiled themselves more and more. Consequently, their awareness becomes narrow and meagre. However, even this meagre awareness and the Buddha's vast awareness are fundamentally the same, without the slightest difference. When we encounter conditions of awakening and purification, eliminating karma and afflictions, this meagre awareness instantly transforms into the vast, all-encompassing, luminous awareness. Therefore, we must extensively benefit others and accumulate both merit and wisdom, following the conditions of enlightenment and purity to awaken our inherent nature. We must accumulate both merit and wisdom. Merit without wisdom is an inferior provision that cannot lead to the attainment of Buddhahood. Conversely, if we generate afflictions and commit unwholesome deeds, following the conditions of delusion and defilement, we will obscure our Buddha nature. That is why it is said, refrain from all evil actions, practice all virtuous deeds, and purify the mind. These are the teachings of the Buddha. Only by doing so do we respect our spiritual nature rather than debase ourselves. It is like the priceless gem that has been washed clean and hung upon a lofty banner, shining brilliantly and illuminating everything. In this way, we do not fail the Buddha's teachings or our spiritual nature. This is the seventh cause and condition for generating the body-mind. Just as when we see a precious jewel buried in mud, we should unearth it, clean it, and mount it on a victory banner so that it shines from within and surpasses all else. Only in this way do we honor the Buddha's teachings and our spiritual nature. This is the seventh factor for generating Bodhicitta, arousing the aspiration for Buddhahood by respecting our true nature. We inherently possess Buddha nature, endowed with all wondrous qualities. However, obscured by ignorance and clouded by desire, we have committed immeasurable karma, burying our true nature. Therefore, we should shatter ignorance and eliminate desire under the guidance of the Buddha and wise teachers to awaken the luminosity of our spiritual nature. The definitive sutras teach that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature. Upon hearing this, we understand that awakening our intrinsic nature is attaining enlightenment. Thus, we arouse a strong determination to strive for it. This is how respecting our spiritual nature gives rise to Bodhicitta. The Buddha tells us that each of us has the chance to awaken our luminosity and benefit countless sentient beings. Don't cling to the present virtuous deeds. At best, you can only temporarily alleviate some immediate suffering for a few poor beings. Have you considered that these beings experience such karmic results because they created the causes? An ancient Chinese saying goes, "Those we pity must have traits we detest," which holds some truth. Those who suffer are experiencing the results of their negative actions. When we witness their suffering, we feel pity and sympathy, but when we see them commit evil deeds, we feel anger. Faced with unwholesome cause and effect, we respond with distinct attitudes. When you recognize that every cause produces its corresponding effect, and every effect arises from its cause, you will maintain equanimity free from attachment. Then, when we engage in virtuous actions, we act out of compassion rather than sympathy. As I often point out, compassion contains wisdom. When we help those who suffer, we are not simply driven by the intention of feeling sorry for their misfortune. When we share others' feelings, those feelings eventually reflect back on ourselves. So, in essence, we are still thinking about ourselves. Subconsciously, we hope that when we suffer, others will also help us. When we help others, in our deep consciousness, we hope they will help us when we suffer. We look for something in return. Every act undertaken by sentient beings carries a purpose. There must be a motive. You might say, my kindness is pure, but only Bodhicitta qualifies as pure kindness. This is because when we awaken our wisdom, spiritual nature, and awareness, we realize that these qualities are inexhaustible and don't require rewards. Upon eradicating self-grasping and realizing non-self and our true nature, we uncover an endless source. Only then do we see that there is no need to seek anything in return. Ordinary beings all cling to a sense of self. So, whenever they perform virtuous actions, they seek something in return. They won't act without a reason. There must be a motive, though some remain hidden. Unable to detect the motives in the subconscious, we may believe we are virtuous. All samsaric virtuous deeds arise from sympathy. When you are going through similar suffering, have experienced it in the past, or fear facing it in the future, seeing others suffer now stirs a subconscious memory of your own pain. This drives you to act. Because you once suffered the same, you help others relieve their suffering. Sometimes the motivation is gratitude. In past lives, when you suffered, someone may have helped relieve your pain. This forms the basis of your kindness. Thus, when you witness others suffer, you naturally wish to help them. This intention to repay kindness is another subconscious impulse. However, such gratitude is only a samsaric virtue, not ultimate or pure.